Greetings, Empowerment Podcast family. August is known to be Women's Month, and in celebration of that, South Africa presents their third annual Women's Conference that is hosted by yours truly, Thulani Gumede, the Powerhouse. Along with us, we'll be bringing guests such as Untitled Chapter, Nomandla Ngoyi, Asipe Mashinini, and Kolega Zama. This conference will begin on the 7th of August, and it will continue on every Saturday in August. This conference will begin at 7 p.m. ending at 8 p.m. It will be held virtually via Zoom. To be part of this event, you need to purchase a ticket that is worth 190. But Empowerment Podcast has decided to put one lucky lady to be a recipient of this ticket simply by answering these 3 simple questions. Number 1, who is the founder of Empowerment Podcast? Question number 2, why is August known as Women's Month? And the last question, what are the 3 pillars of Empowerment Podcast? Answer these questions by sending in a WhatsApp message on 065 615 6641, and also tell us in which show of the Empowerment Podcast did you hear this ad. Don't forget, we are here to empower you. Happy Women's Month.
Welcome to Empowerment Podcast. It is Tuesday today. Welcome to Empowerment Talk Show, where we are addressing issues and topics that matters every Tuesday. This is the day that the Lord has made for us to rejoice and be glad in it. My name is Sikolekele. I am your host, and I'm not alone. I have my partner with me.
Yes, greetings. Welcome again on another powerful episode of Empowerment Talk Show. I am your host, Mr. Vision, and today it is indeed a Tuesday, and we're going to have a great time as we are still on a Men's Month, and we are closing it up with a bang. So be ready to be equipped, to be inspired, to be empowered. And you can also follow us on our Facebook page as Empowerment Podcast. We also have a Facebook group. You can just say #empowerment_podcast. We are available also on Instagram as empowerment_podcast.
Yes, we also have a WhatsApp number. It's 065 615 6641. 065 615 6641. Also available on Twitter at Empowerment Podcast, TikTok Empowerment Podcast. We also have a YouTube channel. It's Empowerment Podcast.
Yes, as I said, it is a Tuesday and we are still on Men's Month. We are talking about the topic, men's, you matter. But today we're going to be looking at are men really failing on that duty, on their roles. And today we have a guest, which my partner Sitwani will introduce very shortly. So please make sure that you press that share button, you share this link, you share with your friends, you share with your families, because today it's about to go down. You will be inspired as a man, you will be empowered as a man, and you will be equipped as a man as you are addressing this topic of are really men failing on their duties or their roles.
Yes, we have a very popular guest today. His name is Mr. Thulani Gumede. He's popular here. Welcome to Empowerment Talk Show, Mr. Gumede.
Wow, Mr. Tole and Mr. Vision, thank you so much for having me on this wonderful show. I'm very honored. And we are discussing a topic that is, the topic that is in my heart. So definitely, I'm geared up for this challenge.
Yes. Before we go further with our topic today, Mr. Gumede, I just also want to let everyone who's tuned in to know that Mr. Gumede has been nominated for one of the books that he's written. So I just want you to please let our listeners know how they can support you, how they can vote for you, and what they need to do basically to support you on your nominated book.
Thank you so much for that. Sorry, I just have to go and check those details because they're on my phone. Apologies for that. But yeah. The details, the book that is nominated is Fathering in the Dawn. This is the book, Fathering in the Dawn. To vote for me, you just need to text this phrase TWBABF 076, and the number is 34877. So that's all you do. Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gumede. Please make sure that you vote for the book. Please make sure that you support Mr. Gumede. For those who just tuned in, and for those who their first time tuning in, Mr. Gumede is an author, and he has written 8 books. At the end of the show, he will tell us more about the recently released book. That's when I see the title, I think about women. It addresses women mostly, but Mr. Gumede will confirm my suspicions on that. So just to get on our first question, Mr. Gumede, we'd like to know if you look at our society these days or today, what would you say are the reasons for men on failing on their duties and on their roles?
Thank you. That's a good question, and I think it's a beautiful place to start as well. I think for me, it would be great for me to give some background on our country as South Africans, so that we understand the issues of fatherlessness, as much as they don't only affect South Africa, but Africa and the world at large. When you look at South Africa, analyzing Stats SA, recently the latest statistics, they point out that in South Africa, 70% of the children, they don't have fathers under their roofs. 70%. It's 69 point something, but that's 70%. Fathers are not present in their families. And then let's talk about the 30%. When we talk about the 30% now, we're talking about those children who are living with their fathers under the same roof. Now, what tends to happen with that? Because I grew up without a father. My dad passed away when I was 3, about to turn 4, many years back, I grew up hanging around with most of my friends, and I wanted to understand the relationship that a father and a child, produces. But I was disappointed in most of my analysis to realize that most of my friends who had fathers under their roof were also battling with some of the issues that I was battling with, because fathers are known to be distant parents. They would be under the same roof with you, but they will do all they can to build walls around themselves. So because men put themselves in the shell, you end up with this situation where even those who are falling under 30% of staying with their fathers, you find that they are still missing the relationship with the fathers. Now, having said all that, we look at whether our society is failing. In order for us to move forward, we need role models. Then how do we build role models in a society where 70% of the children are growing up without their father? How do you become a better father when you've never had a father of your own? You've never had a man showing you how to do this thing. So I strongly believe that as a society, we are faced with the biggest challenge. And I think that was one of the reasons I wrote 2 books on that. Fathering Shadows, Letters to My Seed. This is my first book on fatherhood that I wrote. And then the second one being Fathering in the Dawn. Both these books are tackling this issue. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gumede. I think as we are celebrating Men's Month, you are the best candidate to have here on the Empowerment Talk Show. And without further ado, let me just go straight to our second question that we had asked to you, that how has culture and religion contributed to the state we see men in, according to you?
No, thank you. Sure. To be honest with you, history doesn't portray us as good people towards our women. You look at different cultures. I'm a Christian. Born again Christian. But even when you look at our religion, you look at our belief system, you get to realize that historically there were places where we had dropped the ball. We didn't do well. I think it's now that we are starting to honor our women. They are starting to get what they deserve, Culturally, we've inherited this culture that made us treat our women as commodities, Women had always been second class, It's now that when you analyze our society, you see women getting opportunities, and women matter now. They're even involved in leadership positions. Back in the day, women would have to keep quiet even if they had valid points. Just on that, I remember a guy I knew very well. He was a businessman. He shared some thought-provoking points with me, saying that he's a businessman and his wife is not. And sometimes his wife will come up with powerful business points, but he will not acknowledge them up front because he's a man, And then what he will do later on or days later, he will come back and raise the very same points that his wife had risen before, as if they are coming from him, So you see those challenges that culturally and even religion, this thing of honoring our women has been the biggest challenge. I think it was in 2018 where Saudi Arabia started allowing women to drive cars. Women in Saudi Arabia were not allowed to drive cars. In fact, there were some women who were even arrested. They confiscated their passports because they were activists trying to, fight this thing and allow women to drive cars. So even a simple thing like that, women will be deprived. So culturally and even with our religion, sadly, we've not done well in honoring our women. But we can do better with these discussions where we surface some of these things. So yeah.
Wow, yeah, and our third question is that by looking at this, how does this affect our society, and what are the possible impacts on the future generation?
Yeah, I started off by saying that what we are currently inheriting from our own fathers is brokenness. Because they never had their own fathers to mentor them or to father them in a way that is constructive, So I think looking at the likes of empowerment podcasts starting to surface these issues, and even men who were ignorant of some of the damages that come by them not directly involved in their families. I think the more we start these discussions, the better for our society. I am hopeful that from here going forward, we're going to be raising better children, with fathers starting to realize their place, Because I think with women, it's natural for them to care. It's rare to find women confused on their identity. It's mainly us. Where we don't know what to do, we still get confused. To be confused by pain as well, You are a man and you don't know when to cry and when not to, because you are told that a man doesn't cry. So these are simple things that we are still confused about. So in order for us to tackle major things, I think we need to start at this level so that the future generation will be better equipped. But for our future generations to be better equipped, I just want to challenge our current fathers, myself included. We need to be bridge builders. Most of us, we drive on bridges that we don't know who built them. Most of us find ourselves in churches that were built a long time ago. There were people who sacrificed themselves to do that. We are inheriting an infrastructure that was built by other people. So even with the issues of fatherhood, we will need our current fathers to put themselves forward. As broken as we are realizing the importance of fathers. So in order for us to raise a better generation, we will need to sacrifice, and I feel we are slowly getting there,
Oh, okay, Mr. Gumede. I think that you mentioned something about brokenness, even from our forefathers, and also the ignorance on their part. So I just want to ask that how can this be fixed? the ignorance on our forefathers and also the brokenness that they had faced, which is like a lineage that is coming down to the generation that we have right now.
No, thank you. I think we have this inclination as people to take things serious the minute we understand their magnitude and the damage that they come with, So the biggest challenge that we are faced with, again, I remember mentioning this on another radio station, that I'm going to make myself as an example. I attended a school that was not a good school, but I turned out well. You look at me now, I turn out well. The biggest challenge that we tend to do is to think that because I turn out well, then those who didn't turn out well is because it was their fault. No, the system was not good, So you look at our current phase as a country, like I've been saying, we need to understand that this thing of fathers, this thing of living in a generation where fathers are not involved, it is destroying our society, Most of the thuggery and all these other things, women selling their bodies, and when you analyze those cases, some women, they share their stories that, I grew up without a father, Some women, they'll throw themselves at you because they need a father, There is that longing in their heart. They need a man. And then they will throw themselves at whoever is availing themselves. So that's the biggest magnitude. So, we need to fix this by getting all people involved. Men are broken. They will need women as well to be helped. Even government too. We'll need to bring about programs that will help. So, firstly, we need to understand that this thing is big. It's destroying our society. This level of this crime rate is also affected by the same thing.
Wow. Mr. Gumede, you just mentioned that also women need to play parts in fixing this issue. So, can you please outline maybe certain roles that women can play in fixing this issue?
Thank you so much. That's a lovely question as well. I believe our women are doing very well. Like I said, most of the families are raised by women. But I believe that they still need to play another major role in order to assist us men being the best. One of the biggest problems that I highlight in the book, Fathering in the Dawn, is the rise of female breadwinners in a family where there is a man. These days you find that a lot of opportunities are given to women, and that has found itself destabilizing even the families that we are trying to raise. Because back in the day, we grew up inheriting this culture that my mom stays at home and my father works, And as men, we have found ourselves priding ourselves that we are men, we are taking care of our families. And that only thing that we grew up or we inherited is being taken away from us. A lot of men now are not able to provide for their families. And then you find this other challenge of women getting confused now that they are earning more than their men, And then they believe that, okay, now that I earn more than my man, that means this thing of a man being a head of a family is getting affected now, So the reason why I'm raising these issues is because I want our women to understand that for us to play this major role in our families, we still need their partnership. Just because you earn more than men, it doesn't mean that now you need to downgrade your man into a lower level, because you don't need him anymore. I also talk about this thing of men being treated as a sperm donors. When I was doing my research, I found out that a lot of women, they end up not respecting men. They feel like, I don't need him. I can raise my children. I can pay their school fees. I can feed them. So I don't need them. So we need our women to understand that as much as they may be starting to earn more than us, but men will always have a role to play in the family. So if our women can understand that, I think it will be great. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Gumede. I'm taking notes, by the way. I can't help that. I make sure that I'm taking notes because I can't let this information pass me. So every time you see me writing something down, it's because I'm taking notes. I have to take notes.
It's a pleasure.
Every point that I see that it's relevant to me, I'm taking it down because I can't miss this. I have it too. My diary is with me. It's ready with me.
No, it's good to hear that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Gumede. And this brings me to the next question that we're going to ask. That what would you say is the difference between a man and a father?
No, thank you. I think a man and a father, if I will maybe start by the similarities, both these people, they can, most of them, they can produce children, but then when you look at the difference now between the two of them, is that a father is involved, I can maybe use an example of a farmer, one can plant and leave things that like that, and the other one can plant and then make sure that they water the plant, they take out the weed, they prune the plant so that the plant will become the best possible plant that it can become. So it's a similar thing when you look at the fatherhood. Fathers are involved emotionally, physically, and in any other way. And that's where I found the challenge whenever I talk to men, that we grew up inheriting this thing that the father only needs to provide. The caring is for the mother. But the truth of the matter is your words as a father, affirming your kids and speaking words of life, it plays a major role. A lot of people are broken because they grew up without their fathers, or they never had words of affirmation from their fathers. So, a man is the one who will produce, but a father will produce and also take care. And having said that, there are fathers, I'll give them a category of a father, men who are not blessed with the seed to produce, but their conduct, the way they can identify kids, children, and speak words of life, and the caregiving and the masculinity, they then become fathers even if they cannot produce. So yeah, I think that highlights it.
Wow, that's great. Just for us to breathe, to just breathe after being asking these questions, I would like to ask Mr. Gumede. This is not a prepared question, but just to break the ice. That what would you say is fascinating about you?
Sure. That's a tough one now, Okay, I think, to be honest with you, one thing that is fascinating about me, I'm saying it's fascinating about me because I grew up thinking this was my weakness. I realized later that, wow, this was my strength. I'm too analytical. I analyze things and I cannot help it but analyze things, And I grew up with cues that I pay attention even to things that do not matter. But now, being where I am, I realize that I tend to see things that a lot of people do not see. And then I write books. I can write about a simple thing and people will be like, wow, this guy is wise. This is deep. But this is out there, And then people will say, Aibo, I didn't see what you I didn't notice that, but it's true what you're saying, So I think, that thing of being analytical, it's a weakness that has somehow turned to be a strength, and I'm loving it.
Wow, that's great. You just answered my second question. Just I was going to ask that what inspires your writing, but you just answered that. Yeah, what inspires your writing is you being observant of anything just happening around you. So that was a great one. This was a great one.
Thank you.
So for our next question is that as a father yourself, what advice would you give men out there on building a better society?
Thank you so much. That's another lovely question. I think one thing that I feel fathers need to understand is that they are more than a provider. And that's one thing that I've been trying to tell a lot of fathers, is that they are more than a provider. There's a poem I wrote in this book, Fathering Shadows. It talks about the fact that in Indoda, it's the title of a poem. It talks about a son chasing his father simply because he wants his father to tell him that Indoda, you are chasing your father because you need affirmation. A lot of fathers are running away from responsibilities because they think they don't have money, they don't have all these other things. But you can also bring words of wisdom and care to your children. So I think that's one thing that I feel a lot of fathers would need to know. That they are more than providers.
Wow. Just to add, to ask you again, I once listened to one of the interviews that you were once asked. There was this question that they asked you, Mr. Gumede, that who is the better father, the one that who's present with the man, or who has wealth, and the father that is present with those such weights of wisdom of building up a child?
Yeah, that was a tricky one. But yeah, it's like that, yeah. Sure. I think that's why I answered the question that way. It's because a lot of people, they dump money on their children and then think that's everything, And then you find with children who are raised from rich families still commit suicide, because that longing of a relationship, you can never replace it with money. Very important. But if we can avail ourselves before money, I think the world would be a better place.
Okay. I think that it brings me to this question, that what words of encouragement would you say? But I also think that you've also been encouraging, just like you just said that fathers should be present and not send money in the forefront to be present on their behalf. So I think that's it will be just adding on that what would you encourage men in that who have given up and who believe that they are failures, or they have failed in being the better fathers or being better men in the society?
That's a beautiful one as well. Recently I had an interview on Ukozi FM, on the similar topic of fatherhood. One of the guys was listening to me. He contacted me afterwards, and he told me that he's got a son that he's never met. The son is now 14 years old. He wanted to correct, obviously, his mistakes, but he was scared. I chatted with him on WhatsApp. I told him that every act counts. Some people may accuse you that you're never there, but the fact that you are now trying to correct your mistakes, it means a lot. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that every act counts. Don't take it lightly. Every act counts. Today, the guy is reunited with his son. So, as a father, do not undermine the things that you do. Even if at times children might not understand you. As a father, have that in mind, that sometimes you'll be misunderstood. But it's beautiful when later on your children will look back and say, "Wow, my father's been trying all along. It's just that I couldn't see it because I was a child." So every act counts. Even if they ridicule you, they make fun of you, that day you were never there. 20 years later, go back and to your children, that you were never there for. Even those children might say negative things towards you, but you'll go to a grave knowing that you've done your best, you've tried to correct your mistakes. Every act counts.
Wow. Before Mr. Gumede, we asked you to please share with our listeners where they can reach you. Can you please just highlight us about this recent release book, which titles "Some Women Don't Live on High Heels"? Can you just give us a small brief and about it, and where can they find it also?
No, thank you so much. That's another book that came from my observation and interacting with women. I also went hard on doing the studies on that. I think it covers a whole lot of things, but the main thing that I'm trying to say is that I'm trying to redefine beauty. That's what the book is mainly trying to do, to redefine beauty. A lot of women are suffering because we have social media, before social media, we had magazines and newspapers redefining beauty, So find women losing sleep because they feel they are overweight. You find some losing sleep because when they define beauty as being light skinned, now they will go and try to bleach themselves. So it's just trying to talk to women and say, you are beautiful. You don't need these other things to make yourself look beautiful. You are beautiful. You need to accept yourself. You are enough. So mainly the book is reaffirming women that they don't need all these other things. You don't need to go under an operation. It's sad when you analyze that women will go under operation because they need to fix certain things about themselves. But if they can love themselves, when you show up in a crowd having accepted yourself, trust me, the crowd does not have a choice but to accept you. But when you're gonna rock up in a crowd and feel like, oh, I'm overweight, oh, my eyes are big, start to see that, okay, why this person is not trusting themselves. And then they will start to look deep and then realize, oh, it's because, maybe it's because they're overweight, So there are many beautiful women who are overweight. There are many beautiful women who are not light-skinned, So they just need to tap into that and accept themselves. That's a snippet of the book. Some women don't live on high heels. The book is going to be, it's out so people can get it, So, yeah.
Lastly, would you advise men, since it's written by men, would you also advise men to get this book? Because we know that as men, you also play a certain role in telling those women that you are big, you can't be, you are not my type. Would you advise men to also read this book so that they can also change how they think? And we all know that most of the men go for looks. So would you also advise them to read this book so that they can also change their mentality?
Yeah, that's a good point that you've just made. Firstly, men should get this book because it will give them a perspective so that they understand who they're dealing with, But coming back to the point that you've highlighted of men going for looks, here's another interesting thing I've observed. Have you seen beautiful women who are not married and then maybe you compare with some that are married, not because they are ugly, but they are not maybe, compared to, I don't know how to put this in a better way, There are women who look at themselves as models and beautiful, and then you find that somehow, as beautiful as they are, some men are not going or are not able to trust them to marry them, So the reason why, as much as men are going for looks, but you also realize that, when you are assured in yourself as a woman, you definitely attract somebody who will become your partner. So sometimes we can focus on the looks that, okay, this one is prettier than the other. But after all is said and done, when you are content as a woman, you just glow. You can't help it but glow, People want to be around you because you've understood yourself. But the minute you have this negative connotation about yourself, you chase people away, So, I hope I've answered that question there.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gumede, for having you today. It was a great show. We have learned a lot. I have learned a lot. And I believe that our listeners will also be inspired. I believe also men will be equipped when they listen to this audio, and who also be viewing this on YouTube. I also believe that even women and men will be empowered by this show today. So for our listeners who will be watching this, where can they find you, Mr. Gumede? Where can they reach you if they want to connect with you?
Thank you. I am Thulani Gumede. Thulani on Facebook. You can also search me with Thulani Gumede on Instagram and Twitter, but on Instagram and Twitter is @TG. So you can easily find me there. Let's connect. You can get books from those platforms as well. So it's been beautiful, and thank you so much, guys, for having me. This has been. I've really enjoyed myself.
Thank you, Mr. Gumede. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, and we'd like to remind our listeners at home that this is not the only show that you can find on Empowerment Podcast. We also have Monday show with Lady Powerhouse, Thulani Gumede. And on Tuesday, it's us, Empowerment Talk Show, Mr. Vision and Sitole. And on Wednesday, we have Purpose Driven with Mr. James Vilagazi. You can also follow those shows, and you can also get empowered and inspired and equipped when you listen to those shows.
Yes, on Friday we have Pioneers of Greatness with Nompilo Zoe. Saturday we have Youthful and Impactful with Younger the MC. Sunday we have Soulful Talks with Tandazani Zulu and Mr. Author. Thank you so much. Till next time, we love you. Goodbye, good people.
Bye. Thank you.
And we know that it is the last Tuesday of July, which was Men's Month, and we are going to Women's Month. And this is for every queen who is out there, that we have a giveaway that we're giving here on Empowerment Podcast for the show, for the 3rd Annual Women's Conference that's going to be hosted by Thulani Gumede, who hosts a Monday show. So these are the 3 questions that you have to answer. The first one is, who is the founder of the Empowerment Podcast? 2, why is August a Women's Month? And thirdly, what are the 3 pillars of Empowerment Podcast? So you have to make sure that you mention the show where you heard about the competition on 0656156641. May the best queen win. Goodbye. Thank you.